Hello guys, welcome back. In the previous video we discussed about types of wrongful acts. We were doing intentional tort, in which I had to in this video start from battery and assault. And these two terms I had given you a minute introduction of it in the beginning of the chapter only. So now let's see what's given in this book. The intentional tort of battery occurs when defendant causing touching of claimant with intent to cause harm or offense. Obviously, I told you when as soon as the touch or the contact is established, then assault becomes battery. And it is a harm which is caused, harm or injury which is caused to the person. Claimant, I told you, the one who is affected, claimant is victim, claimant is plaintiff. Okay, both intent and causation are required for tort of battery to occur. Means the person should have an intention that why he is causing that harm, what is the intention behind it. And causation means what is the cause, what is the intention that he commits a battery on another person. For example, if defendant intends to commit battery by hitting the claimant in head but ends up killing him, this amounts to battery as his intentional act. Intention to commit harm caused the death. Now what happened if a person wants to hit another person in the head? Now see, head can be, if you hit on the head continuously again and again, it is high chance that there may be some nerves or some rupture that may take place in the brain, and there may be that may lead to the death of the person. So it is very likely if you continuously give injury on the head of the person. So now as soon as the death of person is caused, crime also comes into existence. Murder, amounting to murder. This is also a tort, that is battery of intention of hitting him on the head, and because of that intention when the person dies, then that is amounting to murder. The act of touching doesn't necessarily have to be done with defendant's fist. I told you that mutta, fist, mukka de dunga, fist. It could be anything touching plaintiff, like throwing water or at someone. So it doesn't has to be always hands that hurt another person, but it can be anything which is establishing a contact. If I throw hot water at someone deliberately with an intention to cause harm or to cause burns on his skin, that is also battery, because now the water from my hands has gone to another person's skin, and as soon as that touches, there is a contact established. Intentional tort of assault occurs when defendant intends to cause in the claimant a reasonable apprehension, that is feeling of anxiety or fear of an imminent harmful or offensive touching to claimant, and when this causes claimant to suffer a reasonable apprehension of an imminent harmful or offense. Yes. So it means that assault is when, because of some actions, some I told you that you have to imagine some actions. I gave you the example. Please, if you haven't seen the first video, see the first video. I had told you an introduction of what battery and assault are. If I do an action that if I come there, I will give you like the fist, closed fist action, and if I come there, I will beat you very hard. So that can be a feeling of fear which may develop in the person to whom that action was conveyed. Remember, to whom the action was conveyed, if he develops a feeling of anxiety or fear, and he has a reasonable fear that now there is a imminent, means तुरंत हमको एक harm होने वाला है, अगर उसका ऐसा danger होना. For suppose in a class, if a teacher is showing or teacher is saying that if I come there, like a student has not completed his homework and the teacher was asking him to do from 5 days. On 6th day also he is so मतलब बहुत ही बेशरम टाइप का है कि उसने 6th डे भी काम नहीं किया. So now the teacher is very angry and she is saying that if I come on your seat now you will get a very bad thrash. Teachers say like this, right? It is no big thing. Teachers say like this. So now if it happens, and now this can be an immediate danger, and the person may, or the student may develop a apprehension or feeling of fear, that now there may be an immediate danger upon me, I will be beaten up very hard. So that can be there. Now if suppose there is a moving train and a person is standing on the platform, a moving train and a person standing on a platform. Now what happens if a person in that moving train is showing a slap-like action to the person who is standing on the platform? Now in this situation, there is no immediate harm upon the person. He may develop a fear, but there will be no immediate harm because the train is already moving and you are standing. So it is very unlikely that that person will jump from the train to beat you. And obviously if you are two strangers, then how will that happen? Okay, so there is no apprehension of immediate danger. If there is an apprehension or feeling of anxiety or fear from an immediate danger that is coming upon to you, then that is assault. And if there is a contact established, then that assault gets converted into battery. In other words, assault is when defendant intends to make claimant think that he is about to suffer a battery, and as a result claimant does think that he is about to suffer a battery. As I told you, assault is when defendant feels that I will make such actions or I will say him such words that he will think that now there is an immediate danger upon him, or he will suffer a battery. That means if I am showing an action and I am making him and I am making such things that he will develop a feeling of fear कि now if I come there I will give you a thrash, तो उसे तो यही लगेगा ना कि हाँ अब मेरे साथ ये मुझे आकर मारेगी, और मारेगी तो टच एस्टैब्लिश होगा, कॉन्टैक्ट होगा और बैटरी हो जाएगी. So he feels that now a battery is gonna be done upon him. Imminent means imminent and in your face. Assault is about thinking that you are about to be touched. For example, if defendant throws an iron ball at claimant and misses his head as claimant moves his head away from direction of iron ball, this amounts to assault. Perception of claimant is important. So if defendant points an unloaded gun at claimant who does not know that it is unloaded and he thinks he is about to get shot, this amounts to assault, which can take place without battery. Likewise, battery can take place without assault. For example, someone may hit another person from behind. If he is hitting another person from behind, that means there will be no action. There will be no action that I will be beating you or somewhat like that. So there will be no assault, because if I am beating from behind, you don't know who is coming from behind. You don't know what action he is showing or what he is gonna do. There will be no fear of battery. So that can be battery without assault. Assault without battery is when there is an unloaded gun, मतलब उसमें bullets है ही नहीं, and I am pointing at someone and that someone is thinking that I am gonna be shot now. So that is assault, because he has the fear that there will be an immediate danger upon me. Okay, now false imprisonment. The intentional tort of false imprisonment is satisfied whenever there is intent to unlawfully confine or restrain the claimant in a bounded area, and when this actually causes the claimant to be knowingly confined or restrained in a bounded area unlawfully. So false imprisonment is when I am confining a person onto a certain piece of land. Like I give you that example, A and B. There was no solid claim for A to confine B in a particular area, right? So that is unlawfully and without any solid claim. So if I confine, like what do teachers do generally, intentionally lock the, अगर बहुत दिनों तक बच्चे काम नहीं करते तो उनको intentionally क्लासरूम में लॉक कर देते, तो बोलते हैं आज हम आपको घर नहीं जाने देंगे. So intentionally, if I am binding someone, restraining the movement of someone and confining them to a certain bounded area, then that is false imprisonment. For example, defendant intentionally locks claimant in the classroom without having legal authority to do so, and claimant knows he is trapped. Sometimes courts allow actual harm to substitute for awareness of imprisonment. So even if claimant is unaware that he is trapped but suffers injury, tort of false imprisonment is satisfied. So sometimes courts say that if the person, like now in false imprisonment, it is important that claimant also knows that he is bounded in that particular area unlawfully. So but sometimes courts also say that even if the plaintiff doesn't know, plaintiff or the claimant doesn't know that he is trapped, but then too he had suffered a harm or an injury, then too the false imprisonment tort comes into being. However, claimant should not be trapped willingly and conscientiously, means कंसेंट के साथ क्लेमेंट को कन्फाइन नहीं करना चाहिए. Trespass to land. Tort of trespass to land occurs when defendant has intent to physically invade real property of claimant and does invade physically without the claimant's approval or consent. So I guess I have given you the example of trespass in any of the previous video, that if there is an encroachment upon someone's land without the permission of the owner and illegally you have encroached upon the land. I had gave you an example also. So same thing is written over here, that trespass is when a person enters, he has the intention and knowledge that particular piece of land does not belong to him, it is someone else's plot, and then two, he is invading or entering upon the land, not only to encroach, to take it in his own possession is trespass, but if you are entering the another person's piece of land without his permission, then that is trespass. As soon as you are entering without approval or consent or permission of the person to whom the land belongs, that means you have committed trespass to land. Invasion can happen with objects or by people and includes invasion of some area of air above land and some area below land. For example, defendant may litter the claimant's land or may create a drainage outlet below land of claimant. As I said, if you are entering, not only that, if you are taking the possession of the land into your area, that only is trespass. No, if you enter the land without permission of the owner, then that also comes to trespass. And if you are invading upon the land of the person above, in the airspace above that land, see, when we say ownership, so a person has the ownership of land in the criteria that suppose if this is the land, okay, and owner of this is person A. Let's say it's an example, okay. So this is the piece of land, owner of which is Mr. A. Fine. Now the airspace above this land to a reasonable height, which is important for the enjoyment of land, okay, to a reasonable height which is important, and airspace below the land means some amount of height above the land and some amount of depth below the land also belongs to this owner Mr. A. So if you have used or any person has used this area or this area above or below the land without the permission, then also it could be trespass. As if you have without the permission, generally only people do that, they litter the garbage onto someone other's house, that is obviously without the permission of the owner. If it had been, there will be no permission sort of thing for such purpose. The owner will not give the permission. Acha, you want to throw your garbage on my piece of land? Oh, okay, it's fine. There will be no such person to give the consent, right? So that obviously happens without the consent, and so people don't take this into consideration, but that is also trespass. Okay, so if you are littering the land without the permission, obviously that is also trespass. So air space above, if you are using the land, and below depth to a reasonable amount, that is also trespass. Now trespass to land, now we come on to trespass to chattels. When defendant has intent to use or intermeddle with the chattel, that is movable personal property, which was in possession of claimant, and when this actually happens and causes significant or perpetual dispossession, deprivation of use or damage as to condition, quality or value, or causes some other harm to claimant's legally secured interest, it amounts to trespass. For example, if defendant paints car of claimant that was parked on side of street without his consent while claimant was away, this amounts to trespass to chattels. So trespass to personal movable property. Land is obviously personal immovable property. Land can also be a personal property, but the land cannot move. So that is immovable. Chattels is the movable personal property of a person. So if a person intends to interfere or to invade he does an action which decreases or damages the use, condition, quality or value of that article. Of that article means of that property. If a person does any action that results in the decrease in value or use or quality of that property, और deprivation means जिस तरीके से वो चीज़ यूज़ हो रही थी उसके एक्शन करने के बाद अब उस तरीके से हम उस चीज़ को सही ढंग से यूज़ नहीं कर पाएंगे, and obviously that all takes place without the consent of the claimant. So that is all trespass to the movable property, that is chattels. So trespass to movable property can be, now see here it is not important that ownership should be present, but even if in the possession is important in this case, the person who has the possession of that particular property, personal movable property, and if another person is doing any action which results in the decrease in value or quality of that property, or it now on that property will not be able to be used as it was used earlier, so that can also be a trespass. Conversion. Tort of conversion is somewhat related with the tort of trespass to chattels. Conversion occurs when defendant intentionally uses or intermeddles with the chattel of claimant in such a serious way that it becomes fair to ask for compensation for total prior value of chattel. Now here what happens in conversion? The person or the defendant, he intentionally, now you see in all these cases intention is mentioned, right? In trespass to land, intentionally the person, intentionally and physically the person is invading upon the land of another person without his consent. That is trespass to land, intention is present. Trespass to chattels has the intent to use or intermeddle with chattel. See, everywhere intent is present. And even in conversion there is an intention to use or interfere with the property of the claimant, and this, now see, conversion is similar to trespass of chattels, but it's little more serious offense than trespass to chattels. It's little more serious in the way that it becomes, now in this you cannot ask for compensation. The value or use of property will decrease, but the person generally can't ask for compensation. But here the damage is so serious and so extra that here the compensation can be asked. For what? For the prior value, means if there was an article in state A After this conversion, article is in state B. State means जो उसकी पोजीशन हो चुकी है डैमेज होने के बाद. तो अब कॉम्पनसेशन जो होगा वो अपने मन से नहीं होगा. कॉम्पनसेशन विल बी द मॉनेटरी अमाउंट दैट दिस आर्टिकल इन स्टेट ए विल हैव. ठीक है, अगर इस पोजीशन पर इस आर्टिकल की प्राइस थी 50K और इस पोजीशन पर आने पर ऑब्वियसली इफ देयर इज सम डैमेज प्राइस विल डिक्रीज, इट्स वैल्यू विल डिक्रीज. So in state B, the price or the value of the property has now become only 20K. So compensation will be the monetary amount for total prior value of chattel. That means compensation amount will be 50,000 for this particular example. So prior value means whatever the condition of the article was before the damage has taken place, and that value of the article only will be the compensation in conversion. So conversion is more serious version of trespass to chattels, wherein the person, that is the claimant or plaintiff, can ask for compensation from the defendant. In other words, defendant is forced to buy the chattel for a purchase price based on original value. Obviously, if the article A was in state 50K and the defendant, because of his action, he has to pay this original value of the article, that means indirectly he is paying for the purchase value of that article. Or indirectly we can also say that he is forced to buy that property. Yes, if 50,000 was the original price of the article and he is paying that amount as a compensation, that means indirectly he is buying that article, sort of thing. Sort of. So remedy in conversion is forced sale. Conversion is applicable in many situations, including where chattel is taken, transferred to someone else, changed, misused or damaged. So if it is damaged, then also you can ask for compensation for the original amount. कि इसके पहले जलने से पहले if there is a person जिसने कुछ hatred थी दो persons के बीच में, because of which a person A damages the bike of person B, उसको जला दिया, he puts on fire. So now whatever the value of this bike was before letting on fire, that amount will be charged by B on A. So that is his compensation. So remedy in conversion is forced sale, where chattel is taken, transferred to someone else, or it is changed, misused or damaged. Next is unlawful harassment. Defendant may be held liable for any act of deliberate physical harm to victim, even where no battery or assault is involved. So unlawful harassment is wherein defendant may be held liable for such an action where the intentional harm or injury to the person is not involved. Means there is no battery or assault on the person, but then too for an action defendant may be held liable. And what is that? That is unlawful harassment. Means unlawfully, I think everybody knows what the meaning of harassment is. So if the person is unlawfully and without a valid reason, he doesn't has the authority to do so, but he is harassing a person, then that is unlawfully harassing. For example, if defendant lies to claimant that latter's son means claimant's son, met with a road accident which causes nervous shock to claimant resulting in illness, this constitutes sort of unlawful harassment. Because he had made a false claim, he had no authority और नो ड्यूटी और मतलब ऐसा कुछ था नहीं कि वो उसको झूठ बोले कि तुम्हारे बेटे का एक्सीडेंट हो गया, रोड एक्सीडेंट में मर गया, ऐसा कुछ बोलेगा तो कोई भी मर जाए, कोई भी थोड़ा शॉक तो लगेगा ना. इफ़ देर अच्छा सपोज करो इसमें थोड़ा सा मैं चेंजेस करूँ एंड मैं बोलूँ कि इस क्लेमेंट का सिर्फ एक ही बच्चा था और आपने बोल दिया कि वही रोड एक्सीडेंट में मर गया, या मरा नहीं तब भी रोड एक्सीडेंट होना और एक क्रिटिकल कंडीशन में पहुंचना हॉस्पिटल में, दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी सीरियस फॉर अ पेरेंट, एंड सो ही इज बाउंड टू गेट अ नर्वस शॉक which will result in illness. So that is very very critical situation which you are creating, and that is unlawful harassment because you had no authority to do that. Sexual harassment is also one of the category which comes under unlawful harassment. Sexual harassment at workplaces you may have heard of, so that is also unlawful harassment. If one follows another person, sends unwanted messages, phone calls, although there is no violence or threat of violence, means there is no assault, no battery. ऐसा नहीं है कि harassment में सिर्फ मारपीट होती है, right? If you are sending, like if you are following, आप कोई बंदा घर से निकलता है और दूसरा बंदा उसको रोज़ फॉलो करता है कि वो कहाँ तक जा रहा है, so that is also very irritating. और अगर आप उसको मारे नहीं तब भी आप उसको अगर रोज फॉलो कर रहे हैं तो वो बंदा डरेगा, ठीक है. सो देयर इज अ फियर, यू आर कंटिन्यूअसली मैसेजिंग और कॉलिंग समवन एंड ही डजंट वांट दैट, ओके. तो ही इज गेटिंग इरिटेटेड, ही, और उसके मन में थोड़ा डर आ रहा है कि कन्ना खिंचा रहा है, क्यों बार बार फोन कर रहा है, क्यों बार बार मैसेजेस कर रहा है, ठीक है. ब्लॉकिंग इज अनदर थिंग, बट इफ कंटिन्यूअसली दैट इज हैपनिंग, इट इज ऑब्वियसली अ मैटर ऑफ फियर, anxiety which is going to develop in that person. So that all is harassment. Harassment always doesn't need to involve physical harm to the person. It can be in any form, okay. Now we come on to next, that is invasion of privacy. Tort law with respect to invasion of privacy as a distinct entity is still underdeveloped. However, as many academics hold the view, there is potential for development of tort of invasion of privacy. For example, one's right to personal life and family may fall under this category of tort law and may attract any deliberate invasion of privacy, like photographing the personal lives of claimant without the latter's consent. So invasion of privacy till now, to consider it to be a separate entity in tort law is not much developed as it ought to be, but many academics say that it has the potential to be developed as a distinct entity. Now it can be invasion of privacy, can be anything. If you are clicking the photos of a person without his consent, that is also violation to privacy. You are hiding and you are listening what the two people are talking about, that is also right to privacy of both of them. A person is sleeping and you are very quietly keeping an eye on him, that is also invasion of privacy. It can be anything. To interfere or to invade, intrude upon someone's private life, that is invasion of privacy, okay. Now negligence, that I will be taking on in the next video. Thank you.